Charles Kirke just died. In tonight's video, I'm going to give you a deep down analysis of every single thing that transpired. And in today's video, it's not going to be your regular dissection like those ones you see on the internet where they try as much as possible to delay the actual value of the video. So the purpose of those kind of videos is not necessarily for information, but the sole purpose is to retain you for as long as possible for you know what. So Charlie Kirk, I don't know whether to use his real name, Charles James Kirk, just got shot in Utah, killed in a university. Before we start pointing fingers, before we find the who, we need to discover the why. Why? The person who killed him, what was the political, why such a public statement? You see this with criminals. Before you convict someone, that's in your personal relationship, say something happened in your vicinity and you had to be the detective. Before you point fingers, your natural instinct directs you to the why. Why would James do XYZ? Why would James steal from XYZ? James is poor. James is behind his rent. James is XYZ. That's why James had to do it. The point I'm trying to highlight is before we point fingers, let's find why. Why was he killed? Previously, I and my brother would make fun of Charlie Kirk because of his polite way of trying to make the other person see his perspective in a debate. However, debate, as I shared with my brother, has devolved from two or more conflicting parties coming to see and hear the other side. All debate is trying to humiliate your opponent to get social media moments. Unfortunately, in college campuses, yeah, his hierarchy is much higher relative to his opponent. So he has everything to lose and not or very little to gain. He has been proving his point. Conversely, those students able to much as a tiny moment, it becomes a headline, it's circulated over social media. It's kind of like a David and Goliath setting. If David kills Goliath, he gets to be the king. So let's look at why. Why was Charlie Kirk assassinated, and why did they have to be public? First of all, we can all agree this is a public statement. This is a public statement. They could have assassinated him while he was in his car on his way to the rally, but they wanted to do it publicly. Why? Why do they want to do it publicly? Why should it be when the crowd has gathered? Why should it be amidst the debate? Why not at the start? Why not at the middle? Why not at the end? Why did he have to be at the middle? My correction. When every single person is interested and intrigued by what is to come, why do they have to pick that specific moment? I'm going to give you two reasons. There are thousands of possibilities, but why do they need to make a public statement? First, now he's been shot and killed at the spot. I was trying to use a more polite term. But before we go into it, let's give him 1 minute silence. May his gentle soul rest in peace. Now, if you keep the 1 minute silence, you are worse than his killers. I just thought to lighten the mood. However, there are two occurrences. One of the reasons why they had to publicly unalive him was one, or is one, for the state to degenerate into anarchy. So the left is combating the right, and when every single person, or when a majority of the party members has been shot, has been killed, are victims of violence, then they come in shining armor to try and assuage the populace. However, it's in the similitude of that saying that when dogs fight, the elite comes to pick up the bones. That's exactly what they wanted, which they will get, because now the right is mad at the left because there are only two dominating parties. I mean, this guy is very small, and I do not mean to disrespect his achievements, but he has done. He, the point I'm trying to highlight is it doesn't warrant an assassination. However, his assassinators have made a public statement that they are willing to kill. Unfortunately, that's what happens when you're up against the government. Once you speak against power, once you go against the narrative, they are prepared to evict you from this earth publicly. Imagine his daughters, his son, once they come of age and learn. The second reason why this is probable, the second reason why they wanted it to be public is to I saw a video of Myron saying he needs protection and he has a debate tomorrow. He's spooked right now. So whatever they did there, it worked. Because Myron, like put, I'm spooked. I have a debate in North Carolina tomorrow. Now I confronted with this news. So it's very sad. It's very sad to see someone lose his life. I never liked Charlie Kirk. Not I by say I never liked him. As I initially said, his style of debating, which is to try and get the other person to agree, which makes him very polite. And I'm not saying being polite is terrible. However, you should know when to be polite. You should know when to be rude. You should know when to be arrogant. Debate. You should enter a debate with a combative mindset. Understand that this is warfare and your opponent is trying to humiliate you in real time. So I would make fun of him. I would make fun of him. Can I ask a question? Like he'll be in front of a panel debating and he goes, question used to be hilarious. Plus his head movements while you speak. So like, no longer funny. And the worst part about that is how quickly your profile gets updated. I go to his Wikipedia page and every single thing is wars, 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 wars. I look up his wife, married from XY date to 2025. And the way every single thing gets updated, it's surreal. They don't give you time to process or to heal. But I want every single one of you in this trying time not to be the part of, or not to be part of the bulls they need to pick. Do not do something violent, leave the violence to the government, trying to murder people in order to assuage your emotions will only end you up in jail. It's not worth it. Now, am I advocating you stay put and do nothing. Yes. You can text online, you can protest online, yes, you can engage in peaceful protest. However, violence is not the way. Being violent makes you know better than its assassin. For the sake of time, we'll end it here. As always, my friend, it's a pleasure speaking to you. See you in the next one.